Hi, Alex. I think you did a great job on your first draft for this paper. I think you have a lot of really good ideas to build off of and a nice base idea to work with. To answer your first question, I do believe that you do focus a little too much on what you wrote in each piece of work that you chose, and not necessarily how you did it or how it was influenced by your experiences or your purpose for writing or the rhetorical situation in which you were writing it for. And an example of that, a good chunk of the second paragraph talks about what each assignment was asking you, what they were prompting, and kind of just a summary of what you talked about. And I don't know if that was really all needed. I think you can kind of shift that paragraph a little bit to focus more on the appeal you were using to write the graduate school essay. Focus on that essay. I think you decided that that was kind of your best work, and I think it's a good place to kind of work around. And then so I noticed that it kind of seems like you do a little better when you're writing with more emotion, so maybe focus on how you work well with the pathos appeal and using emotion and your experiences when you are writing. And then I think it would be good to pull some quotes and sentences from that work to kind of show where you were using that emotion while you were writing. I like that there's a backstory that we can kind of see where you were coming from when you were writing this, but I also think that needs to be backed up with quotes from the paper where you were writing from that backstory instead of just kind of explaining what that backstory was. And then you could also choose some quotes and stuff where it feels like you were putting your heart into it or where you were feeling that healing that you mentioned. Instead of just saying that writing the essay felt healing towards you, maybe write a quote that's like that you remember writing thinking, this is helping me to move past some of the feelings that I have or heal from this experience. And then moving on to the third paragraph. This one seems to be a little less focused on than the first one. It is throwing the two other pieces together kind of into the same paragraph under the same umbrella that, you didn't feel as comfortable with these. And I think we can kind of build on that and use that. I know there was a sentence that you pointed to in that paragraph from one of the works that you chose where you say that it felt like it was written fast in an attempt just to kind of get the information out and get it done with. And the paragraph kind of feels that way too. And I think we can kind of build off of some of the ideas from it. I think you can look at, go back to how you mentioned the comfortableness of the graduate school essay. You begin the essay with that, you end the essay with that. So I think focusing on that in the third paragraph too can work towards your favor. And a way you can do that is to kind of compare and contrast any similarities or differences between that graduate school essay and the other two. See if there's something that you did in the graduate school essay that you really liked or that helped your writing, and see if it's missing from those other two pieces, or if they're somewhat there and they just need to be tweaked and worked on. And if that's the case, then you can kind of build off of that and discuss it. And then you can see what writing styles worked and what didn't, and how they affect your writing. So finally, just a few notes on just the structure and organization in general of your paper. In that first paragraph, there is quite a bit of repetition. I also started my paper off with who am I as a writer. I think it's a great starting point. It's interesting. It's a powerful way to introduce what this topic is going to be and what you're going to be talking about. However, you repeat the question again at the end of the paragraph, and I think that kind of takes away from some of that power and from the initial one. So I think just kind of leaving that at the beginning and then going into discussing that you're going to be focusing on the question of what rhetorical appeal do I feel most comfortable writing with. That question was also repeated a second time, which I don't think was needed in the first paragraph. I think you can just explain that you're going to be focusing on this question and how this one piece you felt that you were best writing with the emotion, and in that rhetorical situation you felt the most comfortable with it, and you're going to look at how that differed from your other writings. And I think that can kind of make a good introduction paragraph there. And then at the beginning of the third paragraph, there was just a quote. It started with, "It is hard to know what the patients are experiencing," yada, 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 from your physical therapy clinic paper. It just felt very abrupt. There was no kind of introduction or transition into it. I think you just need something a little bit more smooth to get in there. Maybe something along the lines of saying, like, "I wrote," or "Here's a part of the paper where I feel I didn't put as much effort into," kind of explaining what you're trying to explain, but give a little bit more an introduction and smooth transition into that. And finally, I am looking forward to seeing what you do with your paper, and I think you did a great job. Good luck.